pretty non-traditional entry into the game industry. I've never actually interviewed or got hired at a game studio, ever. Every studio I've ever worked for is a studio I started. My name is David Adams. I'm the president of Gunfire Games. I don't like the idea that my fate is in the hands of somebody else. Gunfire was like, now I'm going to take 100% control of what I'm doing.
Our goal is to leave the bureaucracy out of the entire process. My name is John Pearl. I'm the design director here at Gunfire Games. We wanted to put ourselves in a position where we control our destiny, as opposed to letting someone else make financial decisions for us.
We're a pretty small studio. I mean, actually, we're not small anymore. I keep thinking we're small, but there's like 38 people. We're all in a large open area. Anybody can talk to anybody.
We don't have any special rooms. We don't have any special offices. You know, president, CEO, he's not coming in on the chopper or anything like that. My name is Ben Gabbard. I'm the development director here at Gunfire Games.
Ben was my friend's older brother. And so for like the first 18 years of my life, he was just the jerk older brother that came in, yelled, and pounded his chest and did crazy stuff.
Torturing my little brother and any of his friends that came around was probably kind of the standard.
I tried to build a hovercraft, which turns out is physically impossible for a 10-year-old kid to do, with a vacuum cleaner engine. Yes, I was that kid.
A lot of us have worked together.
We're very familiar with each other's idiosyncrasies, so they know enough to know that if I say something's terrible, it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't actually mean it's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. That just means it's not good.
I think it's a big strength that Dave can be blunt straight away, if you're just being honest. So I think that's kind of cool. Hi, I'm Matthew Gazender. I'm the studio director for Gunfire Games. The story of Chronos is, at the heart of it, it's really just about the hero trying to kill a dragon.
You're 17 years old, you're a young boy or a young girl, and you got a crappy shield, you got this rusty sword someone gave you. You're not a badass warrior, you're not a superhero, you're just a normal person, and you're sent into this crazy world and you see all this crazy stuff. The game actually starts in the real world. I like the idea of contrast. One of the first things we did in Chronos is like, hey, let's make a giant boss just to see what it feels like. And it was like, wow, that's badass, that thing's huge, it's actually stepping over me. We try to take everything that traditional fantasy archetypes and at least add a unique flair to them to make them interesting.
The really big focus was making a world that felt cohesive, felt grounded in reality. A lot of that comes from the way we set dress the areas. There's a room, there's a small quiet space, and you might have a table over in the corner and you'll have like a scroll and a pen, or like a quill pen.
The idea that you can be so immersed to the point that you start to blend reality with fiction is a compelling thing. There's never been a medium that could do that for you. There's no form of entertainment you can participate in where your mind is actually fooled into thinking that something that isn't reality is actually reality.
For Chronos, we wanted the camera to be down in the world with the player. We had to worry about exactly where the camera is, what it's looking at, is it anything obstructing it? You can't restrict what the player's doing with their head, so if you put the camera too close to a wall, they can actually lean back and pull their head outside of the wall. So you have to think of all those things when you're designing. It was a good challenge, it was fun.
The biggest challenge for Chronos was the 90 frames a second. Games normally don't run at 90 frames a second. There's a good reason. It's really hard. We knew we had to hit that, so that meant that impacted how we created the art, that meant how we created the combat, that meant basically how we laid out the world. In the end, it actually made a tighter, more unique experience.
Part of the game is you actually age over time. You start at 17, and every time you die, you age a year. So there's this compelling element of like, hey, what would it be like if someone committed their entire life to a quest?
You'll literally go from, I'm this quick, agile young teen, get stronger and become more of a fighter, and then as I age, I'll become more wise.
Your voice changes, and you like when you're young, you're like, When you're older, you're like, And when you're older, you're like, because you know, I'm sure that's how old people sound if they swung a sword. You could get to 80 years old, grow a beard, or get a tight white bun if you're a woman, because you know all women have tight white buns. Yeah, I think in real life, if you got magical powers when you got older, I don't think people would dread getting older quite as much. I mean, if I could shoot fireballs when I was like 50 or 60 years old, that'd be pretty cool. It's a good way to go out.
At Gunfire Games, we leave the egos at the door. That isn't to say we don't have a lot of pride in what we do, but it's kind of a group pride.
We want to make great games.
It's literally impossible to make a great game on the backs of one or two people. It's something where you either all succeed together or you all fail together. And I think it's important that everybody understand that. You could be the best modeler in the universe. You're not going to make Uncharted. You're not going to make the next Zelda.
There's definitely a benefit to staying small. That's what we're trying to do here.
When you're a big team doing a AAA game, you're like a super tanker. You need to know where you're going, and you can't really change direction quickly. We're more like a speedboat now. It's cool being this size. We can do a lot of things quickly. We can adapt. It's refreshing.
This is the first time I've actually worked on a platform that's like completely in its infancy. It's just fun to do something for the first time and be trying stuff that no one's actually tried before. We're gonna just do things our own way, and we're gonna make cool stuff. And if we flame out and burn out, that's all on us. It's not on somebody else.